Five?
Yes.
Okay, so once again to our attendees, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Justin Wong. I'm the president for the ARIA Greater East Bay chapter. Now, what is ARIA? ARIA is the Asian Real Estate Association of America. We are a national nonprofit trade organization expanding between 42 chapters around the country, about 17,000 members, founded in 2003. And specifically, we are the Greater East Bay chapter covering the Alameda County and Contra Costa County of the Bay Area. So for today's event, really, I'm excited to have these guys because I've known them for several years in my real estate career. And not only are they holding it down in their own respective brokerages, but they are real estate investors. And so they have both hats, both as a realtor and as an investor. So I appreciate having them on the panel. Before we get started, a big shout out to our annual sponsors that make these events happen, both on the cloud, on Zoom, and in person. Shout out to our diamond sponsor in Bank of America and our emerald sponsors in Wells Fargo, HSBC, Citibank, Bank of the West, Union Bank, and Chase Bank. So having said that, before we get started, the event's going to go like this. It goes from 11 to 12:30. From 11 to 12, that's when we're going to have, our panel discussion with our set amount of questions. But if you do have any questions top of mind that you want to have addressed from 12 to 12:30, we're going to have that as, the Q&A for the audience. On the bottom right portion of your screen, there is a Q&A feature. Feel free to type in your questions, and then my man Eric Relis, who's on the side, he's going to ask those questions thereafter. And also a big shout out to our events chair in Margaret Lynn for bringing these panelists along to get this event happening. Okay, panelists, are you guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
So, I could do the introductions, but I know you guys have plenty to talk about yourselves. That's what real estate people do. So let's go ahead and get started. Kelvin, go ahead and give yourself a little intro about your company, your role within Sequoia Real Estate, years of experience, investing, just what have you.
Well, I want to first thank Aria GB, Justin, and Margaret Lynn for allowing me to share some of my experiences today. Haven't spoken on too many panels. This is actually pretty cool to kind of step outside of my comfort zone to speak to y'all. Just a quick intro. Kelvin Cam, founder of Sequoia Real Estate. Been around for about 11 years. And we have 4 offices, about 100 associates. And we're having a lot of fun growing. So I want to actually do a shameful plug here, work on a Sequoia documentary. So look out, August 19th, Sequoia documentary, part 1, A Giant in the Making. I want to invite you all. You'll get a message very soon.
Like a docuseries? Like a
yes,
ongoing,
and
yeah.
You know what? And you just read my mind. And then we have a part 2, Sequoia part 2 documentary, which is A Road to a Billion. And that will be aired in September. Every week we share a little bit about our path, our goal, our journey to that billion. And we'll be highlighting some of our associates every week, share a little bit about their lifestyle, what they're going through, their goals, their challenges, and what it takes to be a realtor. More to come. And yes, I got in real estate back in 2003. I was inspired by an infomercial. So hopefully today we will inspire you to get in real estate if you're not in real estate yet, and maybe also into real estate investment. I actually got into investment first before the brokerage. And I said this a few times, so some of you may have heard this. Back in 18 years ago, I vowed not to be a realtor. I vowed I did not want to be in the real estate brokerage business because I love being an investor, right? You're on your own. You kind of, you don't have to answer to any clients late at night, at midnight with all those questions. So I had fun investing, traveling around the country, identifying spots where I wanted to hang out, and I bought property there. We'll kind of delve into that a little later. So that after a year or so, I actually was able to generate enough passive income to leave my tech job. Tech was great, but
you started in tech,
freedom.
And then you got into
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. 6 years in tech, and I reached the ceiling pretty quickly, and I wanted more. And it's funny because I'll share about it. It's funny because today is my wedding anniversary, and why that's important is because thank you, man. Thank you. Why that's important is because It's when I got married, when I realized that I needed something more, which is time. Time is huge, right? We all know that. So, and it was about a year after I got married, where I was sitting at home in my very comfortable tech job, telecommuting 3 days a week, playing golf 5 days a week.
Oh,
The life, right? But I wanted more, so I turned on the TV while I was chilling at home. I mean, working, and an infomercial popped up about real estate investments. I got excited, man. I just thought of the sign, like I knew it. It was the time. So it was a seminar out in Burlingame Marriott. I drove over there next day, checked it out, and within a month, I started buying properties. Fast forward 18, 19 years, here we are. And looking forward to sharing a little more later. Thank you, Aria.
Along the way, got a couple gray hairs from investing. That's great. Great.
That's a filter, brother. You gotta
Let's
look
see.
the part.
Having said that, let's transition to the, I guess, the power couple, the power team, with Denise and Vinny MaNguyen. Is Vinny here or no? He's taking a call right now, right?
Yeah, he's on a call right now. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Denise.
Well, great. First, I want to thank you, Aria GEB, and thank you to the audience that tuned in for giving me the opportunity to share my journey in real estate. I started in real estate in 2003, so about 18 years ago. And we founded Michael James Real Estate. But we transitioned we started with landmark real estate, and then we changed over the course of time. How did I get into real estate? Well, my first job in college, I worked for Century 21. I worked under a broker down in Santa Barbara. And I was given that opportunity to become a real estate agent. But at that time, when I called my parent and told them about it, they're like, no, we did not send you to college to become a real estate agent. You know, during that time, it's funny, real estate wasn't a popular career for a lot of Asian family. But after I got out of college, actually worked in corporate, and then I was given the opportunity in 2003 to run a real estate brokerage, and partner up with one of a broker in San Jose. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why not? I asked my parent, how do people become rich in their life? And they say, well, it doesn't matter where you go, you got to buy real estate. And so from that, I got into real estate, and we had office over 100 agents run. I managed, do that and all that stuff. But now I'm back to being happy with running a small brokerage and focus more on my investment. So that's where I am today.
Great. Thank you, Denise. And last but not least, the lovely Laura Tang. If you're going to go ahead.
Hi, everyone. This is Laura Tang. So I started my broker in 2001, got my license end of year of 2000. I might get the date a little bit wrong. It's either end of 01 or in the middle of the 01. So I started with Prudential in Alameda. After my first transaction, so I go, hey, why do I work so hard for somebody that I really didn't get the support that I need? And at that time, after everything, I'll get like 50% of my commission. So I decided to have my own firm. And again, I was just an agent. So I hired a broker, and I didn't have much money. So I put a line of equity and started the business and then the whole community laughed, of course. She's new, and I don't really even know how to write my addendum at the time. But I just believe that if you're willing to learn and you're willing to do it, and anything that can happen. So so the first month I recruited over a dozen of agents, and just by myself at the time, that my number of escrow exceeding the whole Prudential. So I proved to them that, what you think of me is wrong. So, and then after a while, after the crash in 2008, same like Denise, that I decided to more focus on myself, on my investment and my team. So right now, I'm not focused on recruiting, and I only have 5 agents within my own team. And I basically only do referrals at this moment and would continue to just be like that. So right now I'm 100% referral. Um, and I've been very, very happy comparing to that I have to call and recruiting people. So I would save all those to Kevin. He's really good at it. Yep. So that's me.
Great. I'll keep you since you're on the spotlight anyway. So, I mean, in regards to your real estate investment portfolio, there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate, whether it's single family flips, multifamily, getting your unit count, commercial properties in the Bay Area, out of state. I mean, you've started in real estate for a very long time. What's your sort of portfolio, Laura?
Okay, so I'm I can't call myself like a professional investor or anything, but I like to invest because I like to spend all my money. So I go, if I don't invest, then I'm in trouble. So Francis and I divided our portfolio into two: long-term hold and short-term hold. The short-term hold is usually we hold it within a year, um, aka flips.
Flips, yeah.
So we try to do that a couple times a year, at least. It's not easy to do flip because because I need a lot of security emotionally. I need to making sure that is I can. I mean, I don't have to make money, but I cannot lose. So it's not a lot of deals out there, but luckily that we at least have a couple times a year. Right now we keep about 8. We still have 8 that we want to keep for a long hold, long term, not 8 units, but 8 different properties.
Yeah.
I started to focus more outside of California this year because the price is too high. And then also some of them, like in houses in Bay Area, you want to look into the real estate because I notice people ask about ROI and stuff like that. So in Bay Area, we also look into the long term of the equity that how that increases. But in outside like Hawaii and Alabama and Texas, and so
Oh, really?
that
Alabama,
we
Texas.
might consider just the cash flow.
Mhm.
So it depends. Yeah.
Okay. Denise, from what I understand, you're more on the local side for your portfolio, right?
Correct. I mainly invest within my reach. What I mean by that is if I can drive there, I would invest there. But if I have to fly, I have to rethink. So a lot of my portfolio are around Oakland, East Bay area. And I hold anywhere between single family to multi-unit, 2 to 4 units, multi-complex, commercial and residential. And also recently added, vacant land, commercial vacant land where I can develop and turn it into micro units.
Okay. And then you're on the other, well, you're a little bit of both, Kelvin, but from our conversation earlier, you've had properties in 6 different states. You've done some Bay Area. You've done a little bit of everything. I mean, what say you right now?
Every couple of years, I think for me, I just think about what works for myself, right? Real estate, I think we all agree that real estate can definitely help you. For me, at least, I was trying to get out of rat race back then. So real estate can help you in many, many ways. And then it depends on kind of where you are in the cycle and what you're interested in doing, what your challenges are and what capacity you're at. And what I'm saying is in 2003, I needed some cash flow to create the confidence to leave my job. Right, that's what I needed. I just needed just a little bit monthly income so that I can feel like I got some momentum to get going. And like I said earlier, that's why within a year or so, I was able to quit my job and just focus full time. I know it's a tough jump. Some of you guys may have thought about that, right? And wondering if it can happen. It could. You just got to really dig deep and trust and do your due diligence and make sure you get into the right investments. For me now, though, fast forward to 19 years later, I'm more focused on Sequoia real estate, growing a brokerage. That's another investment platform, right? So there's a lot of different ways of growing real estate, but I still do investment flips, and actually I still do investments. What I'm focusing on is less buying less properties, but focusing on 1 or 2 a year on what I call luxury flips, or some may call it mini developments. So we target homes, well, I target homes mainly in San Francisco, and we look for homes in luxury neighborhoods for at least 50% below 50% below ARV. When I was introduced to this a couple years ago, 7, 8 years ago, my first instinct was, man, this is really risky, because at that point I was actually in foreclosure flips. I would buy properties at the auctions for some huge discount, and this is back in the day, back in 2009.
Oh,
So I was doing that for a while, but that dried up a little bit, right, as it started, picking up again. So I was looking for something else, and this idea of luxury flips came to me, and it's again, I just thought it was risky, right? When we think about large numbers, we think risk automatically, but I also looked a little more closely and saw that in certain areas, like in San Francisco, there is always gonna be some type of demand, even in luxury neighborhoods. As long as you buy in a discount, I feel like you're always protected. And that's something I learned in the past. I don't read too many books, but one of the books I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh yeah.
It's talking about how, I think one of the things I remembered so a long time ago was, you're making money when you buy a home, not when you sell a home. I didn't really understood that until a little later, where I get it. It's not about buying something and then you wait for appreciation and you sell. And yes, you got lucky, or they call it speculation. But you're making money when you buy, because you buy a huge discount, you can sell it the next day and make money. So you're just protected for a very long time. So yeah, my focus now is on luxury flips.
Okay. I'm gonna keep you on the platform. I mean, before you got into real estate, you were a tech pro, right? So I mean, there's a lot of ways to make money. There's crypto, there's stocks, a little bit more liquidity, a little bit more high-low. Real estate, so obviously it takes a bit more to put things on the markets, but obviously you guys are pro real estate. Kelvin, why get into real estate versus a couple other things that you could have easily made some money on?
For me, it was I understood it more than time management. I decided I'm all in on real estate. I don't do stocks. I don't do crypto. I don't do anything else. I know with all those other options, you can make money. You can make money off anything, literally anything. It doesn't have to be real estate. I just felt comfortable in real estate because real estate's here to stay, right? No matter where you go, you need it. You've seen your parents do it. You've seen your friends do it. And for me, I was looking for a low cost option to get in the market.
Okay.
And I found that with out-of-state investments, when I did it back in the days, it was 5% down, even for investment properties. And 5% down on an Arizona property back then, a 150 grand home is, I don't know, was that under 10 grand?
Yeah.
And that's very manageable. To buy a house for under 10 grand and cash flow a couple $100s a month, it felt very, very comfortable. And I got it. And what made it even easier was the first property I bought, and maybe the next 8 or 9 in Arizona that year, every house I bought had a tenant in there already willing to buy it from me 2 to 4 years later. So my realtor out there, and again, finding the right partners, right? My realtor out there found this opportunity. He placed an ad in the SF Chronicle. I found it. I called him. He was surprised someone called. Like, what? I flew down there next week, checked him out. It was legit. And yeah, he set these opportunities up where the tenants are already there. They pick the house they want. So these are called lease option deals, lease purchase deals. And from day one, I have a tenant that's taking care of the property, that's paying me above market rent. And I got in list, and they paid me a $3,000 to $5,000 deposit for the purchase option down the road. And yeah, I just felt very comfortable. So I kept on buying because I just felt I felt protected because I had this cash flow going.
Awesome. What about you, Denise?
Well, for me,
yeah.
So for me is I like buying like locally, like I say, and then majority of my property, I rent it out to Section 8. So in the beginning, a lot of people frown upon renting to Section 8 and they're afraid because they're like, oh, we don't want to deal with, tenants that might ruin our property, tenant that's not going to be able to pay. But during this pandemic, we realized, renting to Section 8 was actually turns out to be a pretty good thing, where I hear a lot of my investors and friends that have investment property in the Bay Area. A lot of them were having tenants that weren't paying for rent and stuff during the pandemic. Whereas for me, when with my Section 8 tenants, majority of their rent is being paid by the government, and they only pay a small portion. So every beginning of the month, I'm already getting my rent directly into my account. So I didn't have much worries there. But going back, before the crash, we were investing in property already. And then during the last crash, you know, we over leveraged, and like with many other agents and investors as well, we had to let go of some of the property. But then from that downfall, we also learned, what it is to take the opportunity of a negative and turn to a positive. We reinvested and bought a lot of property in the Bay Area during that time, and just hold. And then we also did some flip in 2008, 9, and 10. But looking back, sort of regret flipping those property, because if I were to hold on it's like threefold, fourfold on some of the property right now. So lesson learned. Yeah, there are some properties good to flip, but I think for me now, what I learned is I'm going to buy and hold using the BRRRR method: buy, renovate, refinance, and do it again. So,
well, it seems like amidst the group, you guys have done plenty of flips in the past, but now that you guys are seasoned and whatnot, you guys prefer a long-term hold.
yes.
I'll ask this to Laura. I mean, is that really the mindset? Like you start off with flips and then go into that, or what's the pros and cons of flips versus like a long-term hold? Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, I'm with Denise that you have to have some long-term holds, because you don't know. Well, I believe in real estate, and if you looked at, like after 2008, after the crash, the market is even higher than the peak at that time. And then during the crash, the rental really didn't get affected because people let go of their homes and they still need to rent.
Mhm.
So after the 20 years, I see what happened to real estate. So I believe real estate. So I have to hold. So we're thinking, I'm hoping to hold a couple more. Um, and I'm more tradition that I want to pass them to my children. And my daughter just started her first job and she's doing the same thing. So she's buying her first property right now. And then, so I train her and train my client doing the same thing. For the flips, you have to have the flip because like Kelvin said, you need to have something that turn around the money immediately. And you can't have the long-term hold. I mean, at least me, that I can't put all my money in the long-term hold because I need some cash flow. Um, um, I do like Hawaii because the vacation rental is really good there. And the ROI is about 8 years. For a 2-bedroom, I can rent it for like 6,000 to 8,000 a month. While my expense only like, less than 2,000. So not sure that answer your question
No,
of
no,
my portfolio.
I appreciate the insights. And when I think flips too, I typically don't think, in Kelvin, I don't really think luxury flips because the Bay Area, the margins is not that much of a market, like construction costs, lumber, everything else in the Bay Area. Like, I don't know, it's hard to do a flip, let alone a luxury flip. What say you, Kelvin?
I think we all know, man, if you search it, you can find it. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's when I decided to go the luxury route because I didn't. So let's rewind back a little bit. In 2009, I got into flips, and it was the foreclosure days. So it was a scary time, but I was introduced to it, and I thought I should give it a crack at it. And when I ran the numbers, I was buying properties at the foreclosure auctions, the courthouse steps. They call it trustee sales. And the first property I bought back then was it was in Daly City. It was 380, I believe, 380. And when I was at the courthouse, there was only 10 people there. It's just I felt like, man, I'm not sure this is the right thing to do. What's going on here? In the whole Bay Area, there's only 10 people at the auction. This is San Mateo County. And then when it came down to bidding, someone was trying to pay us off like $1,000 to stop bidding. We're like, no, we don't want to do that. This is our first try. We don't know what that's all about. So we bid it, and we're just bidding against one other person. It's just really odd. We got the house for 380. I knocked on the door in Daly City of this home. There's a family there. It was tough. I didn't know what to do. It was the first time I did this. So I gave them $6,000, bought them some lunch, and they left in a week. So it was really, I mean, it worked out. You know, I told myself, you know, it's, I mean, it is very unfortunate, but I told myself either the bank would have kicked them out or someone like an investor would have. So yeah, we immediately renovated a home. I gave my contractor 14 days. He did it in 10 days. And we renovated a whole kitchen, refinished hardwood floors, tidied up the bathrooms, paint inside and out, landscape and everything within 10 days. It was crazy. That was the fastest flip I ever did. And put it back in the market and got like 20 plus offers at that time and sold it for 580 in about 5 months total from purchasing to selling. So once I did that once, I just kept on doing it. I'm just sharing that because now the foreclosures aren't here, but we know real estate's a cycle. So sooner or later, it will come back. So hopefully that will help some of you later down the road if there's something you want to get into. There's definitely an opportunity there. Now, even though foreclosures aren't here yet, as I was looking at this type of opportunity the last couple of months, there are still foreclosures. Maybe not 30 a month, but maybe 2 a month. You know, so if this is something you want to do and you're not trying to buy hundreds of homes a year, if you're diligent about it, you can probably find a deal in a foreclosure market. You just go to the auctions. And there's a lot involved with that, right? And I don't want to spend time talking about this right now. We can talk more about that. But again, I switched modes because that kind of dried out a little bit. And the luxury game felt right for me for this market. Again, just trying to figure out what works in your market. It was hard to, like you said, Justin, it was really hard to find the flips. But you got to find a niche that you're comfortable with, but also an opportunity and something that you're interested in kind of further digging deeper, right? For me, these luxury flips, already there's a barrier to entry for most people. So I already know like very, very few people are interested in this kind of stuff. Yeah, the lumber cost is high, but I mean, the property I'm working on right now is, we bought it for 2.4 about a year and a half ago, and this should be done in about 9 months. And it should be conservatively worth 7 mil. So you can do the math, like any type of construction cost, you know, there's some profit there. So that's why I'm in it. You know, it's maximizing my time, utilizing what I've learned in the past, and this is the right investment for me right now.
Okay, for sure. Let's switch it up. I'm seeing some of the Q&As that kind of goes to the vibe that I'm trying to get at as well. So I mean, a lot of our audience is in real estate, you know, on the realtor side, lending side, and they would like to be into the investment side. I'm sure that you guys have been in the game. You guys have done well, but you guys have also made some mistakes.
Mhm.
Denise, I mean, if you were to start over, is there anything you would have done differently, or are you okay with those mistakes because, you know, mistakes make you better? I don't know.
You know, making a mistake, you can always learn from it. But yes, if you look back, I would do things a little bit different. You know, investing in real estate, you have to, if you're new, you have to start out slow. So back in 2003, when I got into the real estate market, the market was really good. I mean, you could buy a property and then turn around 3 months later and sell for 75,000 higher or even 100,000. So the market was going really well. And at that time, I thought I was superwoman in real estate. I was over leveraging, buying everything that I can. Some I flip, and then some I kept. And I kept thinking, hey, the market's going to continue going up year after year. But what I failed to realize is, you know, like I said, I always refer back. I always talk to my mom. She's a great businesswoman. She would always remind me, hey, Denise, anything that goes up will come down. So, you know, just kind of slow down on your real estate investment. But I was like, mom, you don't know. This is real estate market in America is very different from Vietnam. So, you know, so I didn't listen to her. So I over leveraged. And when the market crashed, I had to say, I had to short sell some of my property, lost some, but, you know, within that, you know, negative market falling down, I learned a lot. Like, one is not to over leverage, but at the same time, when the market crashed, there was so much opportunity out there. I wasn't afraid to jump back in again. At that time, jumping back in, buying REOs, buying properties at the court step, you got to have cash. So another thing to keep in mind is cash is king during the time when market is slowing down. So what Kelvin said that, hey, you know, the market is very cyclical. So REOs might not be coming back like how it was before. I don't think we'll ever get into that market ever again, but there will be REOs soon, in a couple years. Or if the pandemic happens again, more people are going to go into financial problem, and we will have short sale. So at this time, it's very important to save your money. If you have equity in your home, cash it out enough where should things happen, you're able to cover for that property, and at the same time have money sit on the side to buy more properties. Because I think the opportunity will be there, but start out slow. Don't over leverage like how I did before.
I mean, good times. I can understand. Yeah. Laura, anything you would have done differently for your portfolio starting off? And yeah.
No, not really, because I'm very careful anyway, and because I didn't take too much risk, so I didn't make as much as Kelvin. So I have to be really careful. And Denise is 100% correct. I left 15% of my cash aside for my portfolio, is standing by situation like she mentioned. So you prepare, because when the crash come, you cannot finance.
Yeah.
Remember in May last year, recently, one day before funding, my lenders, they decided not to fund. So situation like this, but during that time you have the opportunity, and if you don't have cash, and you don't have the chance. Yeah.
Okay. Kelvin, I mean, you did 6 states of real estate. I'm sure you made a couple things along the road. I mean, in terms of mistakes or things to learn, anything else you do differently?
Lots of mistakes, man. If anyone tells you, I mean, it's we all do, right? Whether big mistakes or small mistakes, it's gonna happen. But just trying to remember what you did wrong. Hopefully, you learn from it and do something better the next time a similar opportunity comes about. But like Denise, I felt like I was Superman. That's how we click. Yeah, man, I thought I was on fire, dude, and and that got the best of me. I mean, I would say my second year of real estate in 2004, I shouldn't have bought a lot of those properties. So as the market went up, let me go back. First, in 2003, I bought over 50 properties in 1 year.
50 properties in 1 year?
Yeah, man. As you heard earlier, I was able to put 5% down, less than $10,000 a month. And then that first year, I still had my job, right? So I had my income coming in. So I told my wife every month, this is house saving month. So both of our paychecks went into a house every month, literally every month. We bought a home in Arizona. And then 2 months later, I was excited. I was like, man, I'm seeing my path. I could see it already. I was like, I could retire soon. So I started looking around again and picked up the newspaper, the good old newspaper back then. We had those before the internet. And I found another ad, and someone posted an ad about these Dallas condos. And I flew out there, and I kind of ran out of money, right? Because everything went into Arizona homes. So I called on my friend, and we flew down there, checked out Dallas, and just wanted to see what this is about, because the ad was 20 condos for $420,000. I mean, this sounds ridiculously cheap, right? Like, what's going on here? I flew down there, and I mean, it's legit, right? But the condo was in a row of condos, like maybe like over 1,000, 2,000 condos. It's kind of slightly middle to low income. But I just saw it as an opportunity, right? It's just, so I jumped in, and what I learned real quickly was buying just a 20 condos. So it's kind of like buying an apartment. I learned real quickly that in order to cash flow on a multifamily, you have to rent it all out. But for me, I always had 4 vacant. I couldn't, when one tenant left, I had to fill up another one. I could not get to full capacity. So I never really got good cash flow. So fortunately, within a few years, it went up in value, I believe over 550. And I told my partner, let's just get out of there. It's not something I see like I can be in for a long time, because I didn't see any more potential. But I was so excited in real estate, so I kept on buying. And when the market went up, I, like Denise said, I was over leveraging. What that meant for me was the values of my properties went up like 100%. So the $150,000 homes went up to $300,000. And I instead of selling them, because we're taught to kind of hold and keep onto it, that's one way of growing, growing. So I just I refinanced and pulled out money and bought more homes. But that was dangerous because not knowing that the market was going to crash. And even at one point, I remember talking to one of my partners, and it was at the tip of crashing. And I remember this conversation. I was like, hey, I feel like the market's gonna drop a little bit. I mean, I would never have guessed it would crash like crazy, right? So it's gonna drop a little bit, but we can lose a $5,000 deposit. We can just buy it and just sit tight and see what happens. We both decided to get into it, and the market didn't come back for that property until 15 years later. It's crazy. So, but I too, like Denise, I lost a bunch of homes. It was really difficult. I even lost my personal residence. It was a it was a tough time.
Yeah.
Lots to learn, man. But losing those homes got me an opening into the foreclosure market. And that's when I jumped into it in 2009. I want to share a little bit. It's like, how was I able to bounce back? It's having the right people on your team. For me, I actually had a conversation with my wife, making sure that she'd be okay with this, because it is all in, right? So yeah. I got the confidence, I got the support, I got a lot of man, not just my family, my network, my I have some really solid friends that's always there to help me out if I need the support to this day. So I just felt I put that behind me, because a lot of times it's hard for us to move and try new things when we feel like we're struggling. Your support is huge. The people around you is there. You can't be afraid to ask. I mean, I know I can talk to a handful of people. Even I'm sure I can call you, Justin, Laura, Denise. I mean, we're all here to help each other out. So I just wanted to share that if you guys feel like you can't get over that hump, you just need a little push. We're all here. Sometimes it takes a conversation, just a little edge, and you get out of that.
So it seems like I get two things out of it. There's, over leveraging. There's having a good support group. Your network. For any new real estate investor that's trying to get into it and build your portfolio. Is there anything else I'm missing? Anything else our attendees should know?
I always thought that I went against the book, okay? Because I was thinking that what Kelvin do is the right thing, because you're supposed to tell your clients to leverage and stuff like that. So I thought that I'm too old fashioned and I can't grow out of it. So my home, I need to pay it off. Mm-hmm. My office here, I need to pay it off. And a couple of my investment that I need to save it for my kids, I need to pay it off. And my friend called me and said, why are you so stupid? Because you're supposed to use the money and continue to leverage. I go, I know. I mean, I know it's in the book, but I just too conservative to take that kind of risk. But but supposedly what Kelvin did is the right thing, that you're supposed to use a bank's money and continue and go invest. And that's why he's so successful. So you need to take some risk. That's what I need to learn.
Anything else to a new investor, Denise?
So what Laura say is true somewhat, but that's the old way. Sorry, Laura.
Yeah, it is.
That's the old conservative way.
I know.
I listened to a CD and I forgot who is it that I listened from, but I've learned something from the speaker. He said that, in the back, like in the 70s, 60s, interest rate was really high. So you're buying a home, you mortgage your house, interest rate was like 15, 20%. That's why if you talk to like your parents or the older people, they always say, pay off your home, pay off your, real estate investment, because interest rate were so high at that time. But now we're like, what, 3%, 4%? That's almost like, to me, free money.
Yeah.
So how I feel, so what he taught me was, if you don't pay off your home, don't pay off your investment, but borrow enough where, on a rainy day, or when the market's down, you can still pay. So when you take that money out, that money out of your house or your investment, don't go buy a car. Don't go travel and have fun. Put it on the side, invest it into stock, invest it into whatever, Bitcoin, crypto, or invest it into another real estate that will generate cash flow for you, where on a rainy day, like I say, it's still, you're still able to pay. Because he said that what happened is, like, for example, if, tornado hits, like how in the Midwest, they always have tornado that hits and it ruins like the whole town.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
any property usually that has a mortgage on it, those are the one that gets help first. If the government sees that you paid off your house, they're like, they don't need help, put them on a side. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, huh? So from that I learned, yes, great. If you have all the money in the world to pay off, you can do that. For me, I learned to always leverage somewhat, but just don't over leverage.
Yeah.
And don't leverage where you take the money out to spend on like a Lamborghini or go on like nice vacation. But I want to touch on Kelvin. Kelvin, I just side note, your wife is a keeper. If she's there for you during the downturn and she support you and she's still there for you right now, she's a keeper. Because during the down market, I have over 100 agents, and I see a lot of my agents during the down market, like many of them have their marriage like going through divorce, boyfriend, girlfriend breaking up because of financial. So I always say, if you have a person next to you that can go through that financial during the downturn with you, they're a keeper. That's just a side note.
I'm taking mental notes. I'm single. So I'm taking all that. Let's go ahead and get into some more on the technical side. So, those are some of the things to keep in mind as you get into real estate investment. But technically, when you buy a property, a lot of investors, they put it under their name. But there's LLCs, there's S corps in terms of the liability side. When you put out for these sort of investments, you want to protect yourself, right? Kelvin, any sort of guidance in regards to LLC, S corp? What's your game plan for that?
Before I jump into that, I want to thank Denise for reminding me of how lucky I am.
Yes.
Thank you. And Laura, no, I mean, I think what you're doing is great. I think we should all have a balance. If we can pay off a home, definitely do it. If you have nothing else you can think of putting money into, don't just put it into random stuff. So I like what you're doing. I got to learn a little bit about that too. I think it's about balance, right? Balance and timing. And that's why we're all here sharing, because we all made it in our own way. And that's why I love real estate. You can do it in any way possible. Right. So back to Justin.
Yeah.
For me, I've invested in properties in multiple ways, in my own name, in LLCs, S corps, and also LLPs. It just depends. Right. If I need to take action really quickly, I won't have time to set up a company. So I don't want to lose. If I don't want to lose out on an opportunity, I got to jump in. I got to put in my name, or what I've done in the past many times is put it into another investor's name. I try really hard to not have my name tied to any of my investments, because as I'm building the brokerage, I kind of want to remove myself from the investment side of the business. I really want to keep it separate and kind of offset any type of liability. So everything I'm in, I'm not usually on there. If you have time, for sure, setting up a company, it's the best protection possible. Sometimes people can't even see who's the owner of the company, and that's great. If you don't have time to do that, then if you have to tie it up in your name. Like maybe for out-of-state investments, when I did out-of-state stuff, I put in my own name.
Yeah.
And what I did was I just beefed up my insurance, to make sure my insurance policy is covered, over $1 million with umbrella policy. And that usually should be enough, to protect you for most things. But if you start getting this aggressively and you start doing, a lot of different, like for me, in the developments and the flips where there's a little bit of liability because of the type of projects you're doing, and also going to incorporate other investors if you're raising money. And that, back to leveraging, if there's a great deal, I have a network of partners, investors, they might want to participate. So to do that, you can buy a house with 10 people on title, but wouldn't it be nicer to buy a house with a company and you have shares and partners there, underneath the company? So that's the best way to do it if you have time to set it up.
Okay. What about you, Laura?
Same thing like Kelvin. Like we're buying a bankruptcy property right now, and we couldn't use the LLC. So because of that reason, and I don't want to lose the opportunity, so we use our personal name, and we're trying to avoid use too many of our name. our name for liability issue for lawsuits and stuff like that, for claims. So I prefer to use the LLC, and for tax reasons as well. Um, Not a CPA, but we've been paying like maximum 20% of the profit for tax. So I think that's better.
So like for the sake of time, to get a deal done under your name, then eventually switch
Yeah.
up. Same thing with you, Denise. Is that the
Same
same?
thing. Yeah, same thing. If I need to put it under personal, I do that first, and then switch. You in any type of business, you always want to limit your liability.
Right.
So same thing with real estate. So I don't just have one LLC. I have like 9 LLC.
Mhm.
I also have a corporation as well too. That's why every time when it's funny when Michelle always say, "Hey, why don't you give me that loan to do?" I'm like, "Oh, my tax return is horrible." I have like 9 LLC and 3 corporation. It's very difficult. So I always have to go with the program, you know, no tax return ass. But yeah, so it's always good to limit your liability in any type of investment. So, and the way to do that is, you know, put it into LLC or incorporated.
Okay. In terms of finding that deal, any sort of platform, anything that our new investors should look into, Kelvin, on the technical side?
So flipping is kind of my thing now, and I guess rewinding back a little bit, back in the foreclosure days, there's a program that I've used heavily called Foreclosure Radar, and it helped me identify the properties that were that had a notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales. So basically, lenders are recording with the county on the default of the homeowners. So that's public record. You can do that search on your own, or there's programs out there that do that. But as the market dried up, this company Foreclosure Radar changed the name to Property Radar. I still subscribe to it because there's still opportunities there, and it's opportunities for everyone out there. Whether you're trying to buy foreclosures or not, this is a list of properties that identify people that are in trouble. So it could be an opportunity for you to call on to maybe potentially get a listing, or maybe help, maybe go in there and help them out if you're a lender to refinance. So I just see it as as a good resource. I still utilize that to kind of keep on top of what's going on in the market, if and when the foreclosure market comes back.
Okay.
2 years.
2 years. All right. I'm gonna go to the courthouse with you.
Denise, is there anything that you and Vinny use, or?
Well, besides what Kelvin say, we use each other,
Network. Right.
network with your real estate agents, network with other office. Keep in mind, like, just because we're licensed doesn't mean we're not a client as well. So talk to other real estate agent and let them know, hey, I'm an investor myself. If you have a good property, let us know. And you write the offer, not we won't write it. You write the offer. So then that would incentivize the agent to want to, work with you, because if you always thinking about the commission, like, oh, let me write it so that I can earn that 3%, the other agent's gonna feel, well, they might as well give it to their own investor versus you, because giving it to you, they'll lose out on the 3%. So always keep in mind, you yourself are an investor. Allow the other agent to make the commission, and you get those leads coming in. And that's how we get some of our property. Like, just with the last 2 property that we bought, commercial land, that's how we got it, was they brought the deal to us.
Okay, so a little bit more on the off-market side then.
Yeah, off market.
Yeah. Okay. Well, out of state, so I'm thinking Laura and Kelvin, but you guys have dabbled throughout the country. I mean, has been worth it? What's some of the challenges? Laura, you want to take this one about out of state investments?
I'm almost like Denise, but except for places I can't drive there, but I able to fly there, and I like the place, and I go there all the time, and I know the location, so I am willing to invest there. But for other locations that I hardly go and I don't know about the situation, so I wouldn't invest. I mean, we would invest in Asia too, as long as we know the location. Hong Kong's my husband's home, so we consider Hong Kong as well. Um, you need to know the local law. You need to know their economy. You need to understand the global economy. So hopefully that you understand and know something before it comes. Um, and I think very important about if you want to get into the flip business, you need to have your own team. My husband do the design and drawing, and if he's too busy, we have our own team. We have our own construction team, so the costs that we have total control, um, that play a very important part. And also that you need to making sure you have enough money. Like for example, if you like Kelvin, if you buy something like a year or two ago, you need to understand the market and what happened 2 years later. Will you have enough money to cover, what's going on? So those kind of stuff, you need to be very experienced to see that.
And then Kelvin, I know that a couple years ago, actually in South San Francisco, you guys had a really great investor panel talking about some out-of-state stuff, North Carolina, Tennessee, a couple of other things to keep in mind outside of California. I mean, and any other thoughts about out-of-state, about how you go about it?
I think my short answer is you can make money in any market, any city, right? It starts with comfort level.
Yeah.
And also affordability. So I looked at out of state because it made sense for me as an easy way to get into the market. We look around here, I would love to invest in the Bay Area, but it just seems really it takes a lot to get in, right? Buying one home, you can buy maybe 10 outside of the area. And looking at out of state, you made that start, but also I thought it was a good way to diversify. Right? Every year you can buy 1 or 2 homes in different states. And again, people are always looking for that next big boom, like which is the hot spot, right? You keep looking at that, you'll see that you don't really need to hit those home runs, 20, 30%. If you have cash flow every month, it will grow through time. So if you're just focusing on that, appreciation is always bonus. Yes, if you go in a flipping game, yes, you're hoping for, you're not even hoping for, you don't need to, again, you don't need, even if you go in a flipping game, you don't need to hope for appreciation because you bought at a discount. So the appreciation is always bonus. So when you're looking at what to do, look at your objective and how much you have at hand cash wise. If you don't have the cash, working investors, that's huge. That's huge. That's kind of how I got to where I'm at today. When I look at different markets, it's the basic things, right? Like if I can cash flow, great. And definitely look outside Bay Area, I better cash flow. If not, then I'm gonna just like what Laura and Denise are saying, I would rather invest here because I can drive over there and I can watch it, I feel comfortable. So when I'm going out of state, it better cash flow. And also cash flowing is great, but I sometimes see these opportunities, people send over to my desk like, hey, you could buy a home 50 grand, your cash flow $500 a month. I'm like, man, 50 grand, what is going on there?
Yeah.
Then my next question is, if you were to sell it the next day, can you sell it? Or can you rent it out? That's another thing. So just because it's a huge cash flow doesn't mean it's a great opportunity. But what I look at is I'd rather get a decent cash flow, not a slamming deal, a decent cash flow in a great area. We know these things, right? It's simple stuff. If you're a homeowner, or if you're a tenant, where do you want to live? Great schools, no chain link fences, nice yard, well kept maintenance neighborhood. Look at population growth. That's always an easy indicator, right? People are moving there, great. People aren't. Job growth, that's another huge one. If no companies are moving there, then why are you investing there? Correct. So look at those very simple things, and very easily you can figure out which markets you want to invest in.
All right. Okay. Well, the last technical question I have, and it goes back to investment properties. There's something that I'm sure you guys are aware of, the 1031 exchange. And so you can sell said investment property and defer those capital gains taxes and trade into another property of equal or higher value. The biggest call to action in California is you might get tired of some of these, for multifamily, maybe you might get tired of managing tenants. You want to go to somewhere out of state, maybe a single tenant net lease property, something else with a higher return. Have you guys dabbled into the 1031 exchange? What are your, from your guys' experience, or has it been all flips? I mean.
Well, 1031 exchange is there for you to use it and take advantage of it when when you need to, but not every property that you sell as an investment is good for 1031 exchange, meaning sometimes you sell a property and you want to save the tax and do a 1031 exchange, but then the next property that you're buying, it's not the right time to buy. Like, for example, we sold a property a year ago for 950 and we 1031 it into two commercial, but then there's other property that I sell, but then I don't do 1031 exchange because one, I couldn't find a good property to buy. Two,
Right.
I don't want to just because of the tax, to save the tax, to get into a property that I don't like and end up, costing me more. So 1030, like I say, 1031 exchange is there for you to take advantage, but it's not always the case where you have to use it.
Any other, Kelvin, Laura, any other thoughts? If not, no worries.
I do the same like Denise.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
by the way, it's good to know Laura and Kelvin. So because I've been to one of Laura's Hong Kong investment. It's a great condo. And now she has one in Hawaii. So I know who to call next time when I go to Hawaii.
I actually bought 3 in Hawaii over the pandemic. So
Hey, so now I know who to call.
Wow.
it's not to brag because exactly like what Calvin said, Bay Area is getting very expensive for us to go in. And so that's why we start slowly move some away from the Bay Area.
So who's your agent in Hawaii?
I'm the Hawaii broker.
Oh,
yeah.
you're licensed there too. Wow. Okay.
Okay. All right. Eric Rellis, are you right there? I think that concludes the panel portion. We have a little bit of Q&A. Thank you to our attendees that submitted some questions. Eric, if you're there, you want to?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
All right. So we have 5 questions queued up in our Q&A list here. So question for the panel: what is your #1 advice for a new investor getting into the flip business?
Similar to what was addressed earlier, anything else you wanted to add, guys, for the flip game?
I guess I'll start it off. When you're starting out, you sometimes feel like you need the money. Right? We just feel like we need the money. But I actually think, and I wanted to share that it's not about the money. You got to find a deal. Once you find the right deal, money will come. You're surrounded by money. You have friends that have money. If it's a true opportunity, the money will come. So focus on finding the deal. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
And if you need the money, call one of us.
True. Find the deal. Once you get the deal, if you don't have the money, you can look for investor. There's always investor out there that's willing to partner up with you to do the deal if it's a good deal. And then another thing to add is, get to know contractor, find good ones. I mean, I know that some of the new flip that new investor that get into flip, one thing that a lot of them tells me is they lose money out on where the investor take off with their money. Yeah, I mean, the contractor takes off with their money. You pay them 20,000 to do a little bit of work, and next thing you know, you don't see them again. That can eat into your profit. So start, working with good contractor, getting to know them, and then and then talk to investor, find a deal.
Find the deal.
Yep.
Maybe you're wondering how to find a deal, right? So maybe that's what you're trying to get into.
First step, call all your agents, call all the agents. Let them know you're an investor, and when they have that deal, that's it. Let them write it. Once you fix it, let them sell it.
Laura, did you want to chime in on that question?
Laura, mute.
You're mute.
Well, take advantage of the MailChimp email to your network. Introduce yourself. You say that you are ready to buy, cash deal whatsoever. So I think that's the quickest way to reach out to the whole network.
All right, thank you. Second question in the queue: do you guys do rentals only or Airbnb as well? Please provide your opinions on one over the other.
I do
Airbnb, yeah.
Airbnb in Hawaii because the income is much higher for the same type of condo. If you rent long-term rental, you probably just get 1/3 of it. But for Airbnb, like for example, my unit is very close to the beach, and for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and I only charge the same amount, just like the hotel room. But they have to rent 30 days from me, so that's about $6,000-7,000. So Airbnb is the way to go, and most people would prefer to take a apartment than the hotel. But in Bay Area it's different because in Bay Area there's restriction, depends on the area, and I think our rent here is pretty good. We most likely we're able to cover the PITI, except now. um, that's why I'm going away. Yeah.
Did you see your Airbnb or not so much?
Well, I have a lot of Bay Area property, so I don't do Airbnb. I have permanent tenants, and majority of my tenants, like I say, I would say 80% of my tenants are Section 8. So they don't go with the Oakland guidelines of, you know, how 3% each year you get to rent increase, because it's under federal. It goes with the market. So I don't have rent increase control over my properties because of Section 8. So if you guys want to learn more about Section 8, just contact me. I mean, it's a great program. I just helped one of my investor bought an 8 units, and we contacted Section 8. They rent the whole 8 units from him, and they would have someone to manage it, deal with the maintenance and all that stuff. So he was so happy about it. Didn't have to do anything, just bought the property and gave it to Section 8 to rent from him. Every month he gets like 35,000 coming in.
So Denise, on that question, so did Section 8 do a master lease for all 8 units?
Yeah, they did a master lease for all 8 units. So they take care of all the maintenance. Yeah, he just collect the rent.
And did they do it on an annual lease basis or like
An
a longer?
An annual lease basis.
Wow, that's a great deal. Thank you.
He's so happy about it, because he was like, oh my gosh, I'm buying this 8 unit now. You have to help me look for tenants. I said, don't worry, I will. But then luckily we got in contact with a person from Section 8, and she was like, we'll take the whole deal from you.
Oh.
You just have to bring it up to par. So we helped him look for contractor to repair, bring the property up to, you know, where Section 8 will accept it, and then they take over from there.
And this is here in the Bay Area?
In the Bay Area, yes. So I'm actually looking into buying more of you know, 8 to 10 units. So if any of you have it, you know, send me the deal, you write the offer.
All right. So we'll go to the next question in the queue. Can someone get into the flip business with no money?
You can, but nowadays I think the market, the price is too high, where you're leveraging too much. And let's just say if another pandemic hit and you have to hold that property for a year or two to have it go back to where it is, would you be able to maintain it? You know, do you have the capital to sustain during the time that the property is going down?
You don't want to over leverage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Kelvin, Laura, did you want to chime in on that question? If not, I can go to the next one.
Yeah. Can you flip with no money?
Yes, that's the question. Sorry, I apologize. I had to run outside. There's a meter maid. I'm like, what? Saved $85. Punch on me, guys.
All right.
Can you flip with no money? Yes, you could. So the idea is not no money. It's the idea is not any of your money.
Yeah.
And so when you buy it, depending on opportunities, right? It's you can get hard money up to 90%, sometimes 100%. Yeah. If you can't get if you can't get the money for the down payment, you can raise funds from investors. If they believe in your project and they see the value in it, you can raise the funds. So it doesn't have to be your own money. There's different ways around that. Okay, so don't stop. Again, do not let money stop you from getting into real estate investments.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop you at all. And if you need you have any questions, ask one of us, give us a call.
Mhm.
We'll tell you how it's done. And sometimes you just need that kind of support to get you going.
And this question is specifically for Kelvin. Um, any horror stories you can share from purchasing homes at auction?
I gotta dig deep because it's 19 years ago. Let me think. The first thing that yeah, there's a bunch, but the one that comes to mind is it was a home out in South City, and so fortunately I had a business partner that did the flips with me. I had an investor partner. It wasn't we formed a company. It wasn't my name, so I had someone run it, which is great. And on top of that, we had a team that would knock on the door and get cash for keys, but we didn't know what to expect. So there's this one property in South City where in the yard we just found some bones in
Ew.
the dirt. So we just couldn't figure out what type of bones they were. We told ourselves it's probably pig, hopefully it's a pig, but we just didn't know what that was. But yeah, sometimes walking through these homes, and when it's vacated, there's a lot of personal belongings there. There's a nasty ass smell.
Mhm.
You just don't know what to expect. And I mean, luckily I didn't have to do it, but I could send someone in there. I'll sit outside and wait. You let me know. If I don't see you in 10 minutes, I guess I'm coming in. Other than that, I mean, no, nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy.
All right, thank you, Kelvin. Here's one. Talking about leverage, what is the maximum LTV you recommend going into a recession or downturn? Denise, I'll let you start off with that one.
Well, it depends on the market. I mean, in the last downturn, it was almost like 50%. You buy a home 400 and then property was worth like 200, or actually even more. Some homes in East Oakland, people were buying for 400 and I bought it for 50,000. So I don't think we'll ever go back to that market ever again. But I think it's good to, keep in mind, worst case scenario, a 30% decrease. So don't over leverage more than 70% of what your property is worth.
And to add to that, sometimes too, the lender will dictate how much equity they want you to put into a deal, because they're protecting their debt position as well. So thank you, Denise. Here's a question from the chat.
Justin, is there some feedback somewhere? I just hear.
I got it. Eric, I got it. So the last question from the audience is in regards to, well, I think out of states, but not necessarily for property management. Obviously, you need some help for multi-units and whatnot. I mean, typically for property management, how much are you looking to pay? What's the percentage? What's the norm? Kelvin? Okay.
Sorry, before I jump in, I want to piggyback off what Denise was talking about leveraging. I just feel like just had a few things to add to that.
Okay.
If you're talking about cash flow properties, I think you focus on the cash flow. If you're cash flowing a couple $100 a month, whatever leverage it is, even in the market crashes, if you still have the tenant in there, then you'll still be okay, right? You're still covering your mortgage. I think that's what it is. That's the beauty of cash flow investments. You'll cover your mortgage. Cash flow investments in a safe, sustainable market. Then when it downturns, you're still protected. So that's what I would look at if that's what you're interested in. You're talking about leveraging for flips. I think you can leverage as much as possible as long as you know what the upside is. It doesn't have to be your own money. Property management, I think most areas is 8 to 10% of your monthly income. Yeah. I mean, how about you, Denise, Laura? What do you guys?
That sounds about right. 8 to 10%, and in certain areas, it could go up to 12. If you have a single family where they're only managing one, but if you have a multi-complex, you can always negotiate down to 7% sometimes.
I think what's more important to me is not the amount of even though we're always trying to cut and save money, right? It's very easy. That's how we are. But I learned, and I think we all agree here, that it's about the right partner, right? The right property manager. And even though you know, and just be really objective. Just because they're nice doesn't mean they're good. Just
Yeah.
because they manage a lot doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah.
It's about that work ethic. I think I like responsiveness and proactiveness. You got to take your time to find the right partner, especially if they're out of state. If they're local, fine. You know, maybe you can be a little more casual, but definitely out of state, you got to be very, very sure because they're collecting your rent, and you got to trust that they take care of repairs as soon as possible and keep the tenant there, keep the tenant happy.
Okay. I think we're good for questions from the audience. So let's just go ahead and conclude maybe with a couple final thoughts. I'll go ahead and put on Laura. Any final words, anything else top of mind before we conclude this event?
I can chime in a little bit about can you flip with no money? In the 2010, 2011 that I started to manage the flips, and I take 20% of the profit, and I only contribute my time, my knowledge, and manage the projects, but I don't chime in any money. I don't contribute any money. So any returns, of course, I have to take my real estate commission that's on the side, that's different. And then on top of that, I earn 20% of whatever my investor makes.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Denise, any final thoughts? Any parting words?
I mean, anybody can invest, you know, new or experienced, just be mindful and find good partners. If you don't have enough capital or if you can't find the deal, you know, partner up with somebody, you know, start out slow, you know, start out with one and see how it goes and learn from that. And then you can go more. Don't take off running. Because I think if you walk, you see more things. If you run, you might miss stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Kelvin?
You know what? I think most of us out here are realtors, lenders, we're on the real estate field. And a lot of time we just get comfortable in doing what we're doing. We see people on the sidelines. Well, not sidelines. We see people investing and we think about it, but a lot of us don't do it or not enough of it. So hopefully today, this excites you. Maybe it's the kick that you needed. You got to get into investments, whether it's one property a year or one every 2 years, whatever you're comfortable with, you got to get into it. We're in this space. You should feel somewhat comfortable. Let's hope today with that kick that you needed to get you off your seats and start investing.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Denise and Vinny, MaNguyen of Compass, thank you so much for your time. Laura Tang of Formality Real Estate, thank you. And Kelvin Cam of Sequoia Real Estate. Appreciate you guys' time. I know we're going to end a little bit early. Couple of announcements too. Obviously, you like seeing our faces on Zoom, but I prefer to see you guys in person. So next Monday, we have our first annual golf tournament in Pleasanton at Ruby Hill Country Club. Unfortunately, we are sold out of golf tickets for our golf tournament, but we still have the mixer and dinner portion from 3:30 to 7:30. Dinner, raffle, networking. It's going to be at a very nice venue in Ruby Hill. $60 admission. We would love to have you guys next Monday on August 2nd. From a national perspective as well, last year we had a Zoom virtual national convention, but we're excited to have a little homecoming. REA National is going to have its national convention from October 7th to 9th, and it's going to be in San Francisco. It's going to be at the Westin in San Francisco. So like I mentioned before, we have 42 chapters extending all throughout the country. In regards to networking, talking deals, bringing the deal, that is a great opportunity to talk to some of our out-of-state brothers and sisters in REA.
And all three of us going to be there, right? Kelvin, you're going to be there? Laura? Yeah. So we're going to be at Ruby Hills on Monday.
Yeah.
All right. So like I said, I know you guys love seeing us on Zoom, but hopefully we see you guys face to face, shake hands, talk some business, and take it from there. So Eric Relos, Kelvin, Denise, Laura, thank you so much for your time. And to our attendees, have a good one. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. See you on Monday.
All right.
See you
Take care.
Monday.
Have a good week.